Alright, welcome to Daily Coding Challenges. We're going to take a JavaScript challenge question from the internet and try to solve it. Today's challenge is sameCharCollapse. So write a function, sameCharCollapse, that takes in a string and returns a collapsed version of the string. To collapse the string, we repeatedly delete two adjacent characters that are the same until there are no such adjacent characters. If there are multiple pairs that can be collapsed, delete the leftmost pair. For example, we take the following steps to collapse zzzxaaxy, and that becomes zxaaxy. So we deleted the first two z's, and that will become zxxy. So we deleted these two a's, and then that becomes zy because we deleted these two x's. Okay, so we're going to want to, we need to create a functionality that will delete the current index and the next index if they are the same, and then we need to go back and perform that same functionality over and over and over. So once we delete those two values, we need to basically have what's left be create a new string out of it and then perform that same function again on that new string until we cannot perform that function anymore. So let's go ahead and create the function, and they called it sameCharCollapse. So sameCharCollapse, and it's taking in a string. Okay, alright, this is going to be a doozy. So I'm going to be creating a function that's going to perform that one piece of code where we want to delete the current index and the current index plus 1 if they are equal. And then we're going to want to keep doing that over and over and over. So every time we do that, we want to produce a new string at the end where those two values are not there. And we want everything else to collapse and join back together. And we're going to keep doing that over and over and over. So I think what I am going to do is I'll say let collapsible equal true. And I'll say while collapsible I'll immediately set collapsible to equal false, and I'm going to say I'm going to call them letters. Let letters equal string.split, and oops, and I'm going to open up a for loop here. So let I equals 0 while I is less than letters dot length I plus equals 1. And so basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to set collapsible back to true at the end of this if statement that I'm going to make. So if, well, you know what, I'll explain it at the end. I'm going to go ahead and just run through it. It'll be easier to explain once I've set it up. So if letters at the current index is equal to letters at the current index plus 1, then what I'm going to do is I'll just set letters at the current index to equal an empty string. Oops. And I will set letters at the current index plus 1 to equal an empty string. And we will set collapsible to equal true again. And we're going to break out of this. So we're breaking out of this for loop, not the while loop. Okay, so and in between those, I want to set string to equal letters dot join. And at the end, I will return string. And that should actually solve, so let's find out real quick. Okay, so we're looking for zy, which we got, and we're looking for uv, which we got. So that is a solve, but I will explain real quick what this is doing. So we have our for loop here. So we set collapsible to true. So while collapsible, so basically while true, we immediately set collapsible to false. So this while loop should not execute again while collapsible is false. So we create a variable here called letters, and we get that from string.split. And then we jump into a for loop inside of the while loop. So each time we execute this while loop, we're going to initiate this for loop here, and we're going to go to this if statement. If letters at the current index is equal to letters at the current index plus 1. So basically, if we find two like characters side by side, then both of those like characters are going to now be set to equal an empty string. So in the case of z and the next one is z, those are going to get deleted and replaced with this empty string. They're not deleted yet, they're just replaced. So those two z's are now empty strings. And since we found the current index was equal to the current index plus 1, so since we found two like characters side by side, we're going to set collapsible to equal true again, because we want to execute this while loop again. Because since we just changed the overall string, we set those to equal empty strings, we know we're changing the string again. So we want to go back and perform this while loop and perform this for loop, and we want to check at least one more time to make sure that what we changed did not introduce any two new like characters that are side by side. So at the end, the zy and the uv. So each time we get out of this for loop, we're rejoining letters. So we're telling it that string is now equal to letters.join. So letters is going to be this variable here, and we're changing it inside this for loop to make like characters equal these empty strings. And then we're joining empty strings. So string is going to now be letters joined, and it's going to remove all these empty strings. So each time we go back and redo the loop again, string at the beginning, letters string dot split, string is going to be equal to what we told it string equals here, because that was the last piece of information we gave it before we went back to start the while loop over. And at the end, since we're just changing string the whole time at the end here, we can just return string at the end. But basically z and y and u and v, the part that we're left with, since this if statement here, letters at the current index is equal to letters at the current index plus 1, since we don't find that the current index is equal to current index plus 1, this piece of code here is never ran. So collapsible never gets set back to true, which means the next time we go up to check if while collapsible, it's not collapsible, because collapsible is not true. So while true is not while true, it's while false. So since we hit a false there, the while loop is not executed again. So that's how it's kind of a funky roundabout loop. I guess you could probably do this with recursion also, but I do not want to do that. This was, I think, a faster way, but to each their own. If you have a better way of doing it, obviously, you can leave it in the comments. And yeah, if you have any questions about what I did here, leave it in the comments, and I will try to help you out as best as I can. I will catch you next time.